we set out to build something. Not for us, but for you. In 1932, we set out on a mission to establish an institution that catered to the financial needs of every Grenadian. We envisioned a space where our people felt secure and welcome to do business with familiar faces. This was more than a commercial enterprise. Because we considered you to be family, we saw ourselves as building more than just a bank. We likened this establishment to a house. Since we opened our doors in 1933, you've remained with us ever since, growing with us and saving with us, but most importantly, trusting us to safeguard your interests. Through unrest and turmoil, you put your faith in us to be the shelter against adversity. Your trust is the foundation upon which we continue to build to provide stability and support for your dreams and aspirations. Your trust helped our family to grow, and as we grew, your needs grew in tandem. So we developed, expanding our accommodations to make you comfortable, transforming our humble abode to a modern center of business and commerce, while preserving our warm, friendly, family atmosphere. As we furnished our house with efficient services, you decorated our offices, walkways, and counters with smiles, love, and satisfaction, giving us the impetus to improve and do more. It took vision to build this establishment, and our vision has always revolved around the well-being of our people. It is vision that continues to guide our development, a vision of growth, a vision of expansion, a vision of the future, a vision that recognizes that the world is a global village and that technology has become an integral part of our lives. A vision that embraces the efficiencies of technology and its importance in diversifying our corporate and retail portfolios. A vision that represents your vision, your interests, and your needs. You see, we built a house, but it didn't take us long to realize that people, our people, make it home. Welcome home.
Good morning to our panel, Mr. Darrell Braffett, Chairman of the Board of Directors, Mr. Richard W. Duncan, Managing Director, and Mrs. Alana Joseph, Acting Executive Manager of Finance. And a warm welcome to the media and viewers on our Facebook page and in the banking hall. Season's greetings. Thank you for reserving the time to join this media briefing, where we will discuss the bank's performance over the fiscal period October 2019 to September 2020. This briefing also follows from our half-year performance discussion in May 2020. Before we hear from our panel, please allow me to remind the media personnel present on the call that when you have a question, kindly raise your hand and we will call on you to proceed. We also welcome questions via text message on our WhatsApp number 410-CARE, that is 410-2273, and from Facebook viewers via the comments under this live. We will now hear from Mr. Darrell Braffett, Chairman of the Board of Directors, as he gives a review of the bank's financial performance. Media personnel can refer to the copy of the financials that have been provided to you.
Good morning, fellow Grenadians, and welcome. This bank realized solid performance at the end of the 2020 financial year, though impacted by the economic downturn brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic. This year marks a flattening of the bank's after-tax profit following 6 consecutive years of steady growth. Such performance must be viewed in the context of a weakened economy, a ferociously competitive market, and astute management and leadership of the bank. Though the economy continues to reel under the reduced tourism activities brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, the impact of the banking sector has been ameliorated by the ECCB-supported loan moratorium program. The bank has seen a welcomed expansion in its loan portfolio, and at the same time, we have further reduced our non-performing loans. Liquidity levels within the banking system remain high as deposit growth flourishes, driven by repressed consumer confidence combined with growing uncertainty. At the same time, there remains limited options in the domestic market for the absorption of the excess liquidity as, understandably, demand for credit has weakened and remains depressed. Operating costs within the sector continues to be a challenge due to the continual metamorphosis of the regulatory and compliance environment. The credit space remains highly competitive as commercial banks, credit unions, and non-bank financial institutions aggressively compete for business. It is on this backdrop that Grenada Co-operative Bank Limited is pleased to report that the bank recorded an after-tax profit of $9.6 million in 2020, a decrease of 0.4% over 2019. This stable bottom line performance has been driven mainly by our improved credit and liquidity risk management. Our non-performing loans ratio remains below 1% as of September 30th, 2020, demonstrating the success of our previously articulated commitment to continuous improvement in our credit underwriting and the containment of loan delinquency. Maintaining high asset quality remains our primary area of focus. Looking at the financial position, total assets of the bank grew by 11% or $123.3 million and now stand at $1.29 billion. This growth is reflected in increases in the bank's consumer loan portfolio by $37.1 million or a 7% increase over 2019. Additionally, the bank's cash and cash equivalents increased by $75.9 million or 44% over the period. The bank's capital adequacy ratio and solvency ratio remained within regulatory requirements. In light of the uncertainties that lay ahead, the bank has prudently increased its buffers to cushion expected credit losses that may arise. Notwithstanding the challenges experienced within the banking sector, the board, management, and staff are committed to ensuring that our strategic and financial objectives are met in 2021 and beyond, remaining an icon of Grenadian fortitude and determination, and delivering satisfactory returns to shareholders. Without the strong patronage of our customers, this performance would not have been possible. We thank the Grenadian banking public for their continued confidence in the bank. Also, I want to express my appreciation to the management and staff of the bank for their ongoing hard work and dedication in ensuring that our customers enjoy a satisfactory experience each and every time. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Richard W. Duncan, Co-op Bank's Managing Director, will now highlight the non-financial strides the bank has made during the year.
Good morning, listeners and viewers. Thank you for joining us in this year-end performance media briefing. At Co-op Bank, we work relentlessly to improve the quality of the experience our customers enjoy. Your feedback holds us to account and helps us to improve. Earlier this year, on May 6, 2020, my colleague, Mr. Dion Moses, Chief Operating Officer, disclose how our customers rated us in relation to the promises we have made in our customer service charter. The overall satisfaction rating was 76%, which is 6 percentage points above our benchmark. This is the third consecutive year we have been rated over 70% benchmark, with scores of 77% and 73% in 2019 and 2018 respectively. Equally important is how we stack up against our peers. This we glean from the annual independent household omnibus survey conducted by Jude Bernard and Associates. This year's results show 1. Grenada Co-operative Bank Limited remains the #1 bank in the commercial banking sector with respect to patronage. In 2020, 44% of the persons surveyed stated that they do business with us. This is a big jump from 2018 at 37% and 36% in 2019. The bank continues to be the main banking institution for household customers in Grenada. This is better understood when looked at in relation to the closest competitor with a patronage rate of 21%. 2. With such an increase in the level of patronage, there is quite naturally pressure on our ability to maintain the high level of excellent customer service experience that we aspire to provide. Quite gratifyingly, the hard work and dedication of the staff have paid off. Co-op Bank in 2020 has the highest customer satisfaction index score among commercial banks with 83.2%. This again is a commendable improvement over 2019 and 2018. A comparison with our peers is useful. And here our closest competitor has a customer satisfaction index of 81.8%. Taking into consideration the tumultuous economic environment that currently exists and will persist for at least another 24 months, the bank remains committed to providing excellent service experience for its customers. Our financial support webinar is a moratorium right for you on April 23, 2020, demonstrates our commitment to ensuring our customers and the public at large are well informed on matters affecting their financial and economic life and how Grenada Co-operative Bank Limited intends to assist. Additionally, we remain steadfast to our mission of contributing to the well-being of the citizens where we operate. We have significantly expanded our scholarship program under our education investment plan to guard against the medium to long-term negative fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic on Grenada's human resource capital. Our scholarship spend has been increased fourfold to $321,000 compared to $70,000 in 2019. This annual spend will be sustained well into the future as we play our part to help secure Grenada's future through its human resource capacity. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We now invite any questions, comments, feedback that you may have for us.
Before we open the floor, I just want to remind media personnel on the call that you raise your hands in the Zoom platform and we will call on you to proceed. Please state your name and the media outfit that you're representing when asking your questions. We also have questions that came in before this media briefing, as we usually invite. Despite the pandemic, the bank has still achieved a commendable performance. Is this something that the public can expect to be sustained in the future?
The bank's 2020 financial performance remained stable despite the turbulence in the global and local environment. However, this performance was tempered by the global responses to the pandemic. And as a result, we saw a net profit performance that was basically on par with what we had last year. Notwithstanding all of this, we realized an expansion of our net asset position at the end of the year. Appreciation must be shown towards the board of directors, the management and staff of the bank for their commitment to the bank's strategy, and equally important, our customers for their continued support. I think there was a reference made to a question about the sustainability of this performance. Now, with the 2008 financial crisis, there was a lag time in the effects being felt regionally and in particular in Grenada of about 4 years. We anticipate that this lag time will be shorter, and therefore the 2021 environment would be one that has slow economic recovery and faster adoption of technology. And being mindful of that, the bank would maximize any opportunity that we can, any opportunity to profitably grow select areas of business.
Thank you, Mrs. Joseph. Okay, let me ask another question in the meantime while Linda and Nancy type their questions in the chat. Customers continue to see the bank, all banks, hike their fees and charges. How do you at Co-op Bank intend to address customers' concerns and frustrations on this matter? Mr. Duncan?
Thank you very much for that question. I think it is important that we recognize that the issues of fees and charges, bank fees and charges, remain a vexing one for customers. At the bank, we pursue what we call a fair fee policy. And that is our fees, we do not intend for them to be the highest in the market by any means. We also give customers adequate notice of any changes in fees or any new fees that are being introduced. And we always give them the opportunity to choose alternative means of doing their transactions such that they can avoid these fees altogether or to minimize those fees. So that's very important. The message for customers is that all banks, including ourselves, have multiple channels by which they can do their transactions. And the general shift in the marketplace, which has been accelerated by the COVID-19 pandemic response, is that choosing electronic means of treating with the banking transaction is beneficial to customers in several ways. One, they are free in many instances of very low cost compared to the physical direct interaction. Two, they are very convenient. Three, they are secure. And four, they work well and they are very reliable. So the message is try and use the online facilities of the bank, use your international debit card, sign up for e-banking and utilize it. Now, obviously, there are things that you cannot do electronically, and therefore we welcome the customers and we look to give them the best quality experience that we can. So that would be the way in which I would suggest customers can respond to the issue of bank fees. They are designed to encourage and incentivize you to choose options that are in your best interest.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have some questions from Nancy. There appear to be about three different questions. So I'll ask the first one. Who is the bank's closest competitor?
Well, it depends on how you look at it. There are 4 commercial banks on the island, and the market share wise, Grenada Co-operative Bank has been number 1 until the acquisition of the operations of Scotiabank by Republic. So that basically leads to that. And I think that the data, when you compare, you would see where the RBTT and FCIB will be stacking up in relation to that. In terms of patronage, the data suggests the same thing, that Co-op remains number 1 on all counts and from all angles. And in terms of loans, again, it remains pretty much a tight race.
That's true. So her second question is basically a follow up to that. Were there any new customers when Scotia closed branches in Grenada, like moving over to Co-op Bank?
Let's call that information not fit for the public domain.
I agree. Go ahead.
So join in with Mr. Duncan's response. The financial sector has become very competitive over the years, and more so now with all that's going on in the market. So you have a lot of non-bank financial players also operating in the space. So we now have, although the question is about our closest competitors, there are many competitors in a very aggressive market.
That is true. Okay. Her third question is whether we can provide an update on the bank's participation in the Grenville commercial complex. Mr. Duncan, you want to take
yes,
that one?
I'll take that one again. Very, very important question. The bank remains a 49% shareholder in the Grenville Commercial Complex Limited, which is spearheading the redevelopment, as it were, of that physical space in Grenville with the Revenue Office and the Public Library and the defunct Post Office. We have gotten to the point where the drawings have been completed, the designs are done, and we are in the process of going out to tender for contractors to bid to do the project. So you have heard, if you listen keenly, at the national budget speech yesterday, that $8 million is earmarked to more or less commence and advance that project in 2021. So the government of Grenada is keeping their side of the bargain, and we are progressing quite nicely with that joint arrangement.
Okay. Nancy was trying to confirm what she was meaning by the closest competitor of Co-op Bank. It was mentioned in your address, and she wanted to know who was the closest competitor, I suppose in terms of patronage, which is what we spoke about.
Yes, well, again, we mentioned two things. We mentioned patronage and we mentioned customer satisfaction index. It does not mean that the closest competitor in patronage is also the closest one in customer satisfaction index. So I could not speak to them distinctly, but I did speak to the one concerning patronage. Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification. All right. We have a question from Linda Straker. How much has online transactions increased since the country went into lockdown? She also has a follow-up question which refers to how many online attacks has the bank had to deal with, if any.
Right. So again, Linda, excellent question. I thank you very much for it. We always say in the banking sector, and we emphasize it here at Co-op Bank, that your best line of defense in this electronic world, it is your customers, right? They are your best lines of defense. What do we mean by that? Most time you hear there has been a breach, it's because some customer fell victim of a scheme or a scam where they disclosed to someone the personal identification number or the bank account details or a password of some kind. So we believe in our customer education, our customer vigilance, extremely important. So from time to time you would have some cards that are compromised because people went on some site and thing. Very, very minor, but it's part and parcel of the course in the electronic, business, card business and online banking business. Extremely important that we make that point. So we have not had any major incidences. I think the last one that we had was back in 2011, and that was an ATM scam. Several banks were impacted on the island as well as in the region because these criminals tend to operate, globally and regionally. I don't have the data, but I could tell you, broadly speaking, across the region and in our bank as well, there has been a significant uptake of people applying to get e-banking and to utilize it. And also merchants, right? Merchants who hitherto were reluctant to sign up and to allow people to pay them, whether it's insurance premium, whether it is for goods, for services, and so forth. That has been a big, big boost during the pandemic. And we know it will continue well into the future. I think Alana wanted to comment, yeah?
Yes. And just to add, our electronic banking platform has always been, available to our customers. The uptake initially was slow, I guess, because people probably didn't really understand the efficiencies that they could achieve from this platform. But the COVID pandemic has really forced people to utilize this avenue and really realize the efficiencies rather than standing in a line, rather than waiting to get a confirmation on your wire. We have faster, more efficient ways to get things done. And I think people are really welcoming this and enjoying it, actually. And really and truly, as we move forward, there would be a new way of doing business, a new normal.
Thank you. Okay, we have another question from Nancy McGuire. How much has the bank raised for the Carlton home? And what is the $1 million commitment from the government in terms of starting construction? Mr. Duncan, I think you should take this one.
Again, Nancy, I appreciate that question. In answering it, let me pay homage to our 7 alliance partners who have been collaborating with us to raise $500,000 through the Pump It Up Family Fund work for the re-establishment of the Carlton home. Specifically, I want to single out Antillean Group, Mr. Kenny James. I also want to single out Mr. Ronald Hughes of Guardian General OECS Limited, Mr. James Pitt of Flow Grenada Limited, the support from Jonas Brown and Hubbard's Food Fair, Mr. Philbert Lewis. We want to thank Food Fair Hubbard's very much for their support. Mr. Ken Joseph of Excel Plaza Gym, very strong support. And despite the fact that these 2 alliance partners have been, in my opinion, hardest hit based on the sector they operate in, i.e. Koyaba and Wagiti, Ms. Denika Sherman of Koyaba and Mr. Wayne Redhead. We also want to commend them for their commitment and support and the amounts that they have been committed to paying in and have paid in into the fund, which now stands at $325,000. So again, we are this close to the $500,000. So the $1 million question now is, what lies ahead with the government's commitment to, put $1 million towards the effort? Just let me remind people that the efforts of the bank and our alliance partners, those efforts are designed to ensure that the facility is re-established. Once the government determines where that is going to be, the configuration it is going to take, the designs and stuff like that, we then would engage to see, here is how our $500,000 can be utilized to assist in the realization of that dream. So we await the formal approach of the authorities as far as the designs, the location, and things like that are concerned.
Just one slight correction. Sorry, just one slight correction. It's Kenny John of Antillean. We really appreciate him. We had said Kenny
My apologies,
James.
I did not say Kenny John.
We said Kenny James.
My humble apologies to you, Mr. John.
All right. I think, well, we answered this question really, but it's placed in a different way. How much of a competitor are credit unions to the bank?
Well, They are very strong competitors to the bank. As a retail player in the market, we vie for customers in the same space. And the results over the years suggest that the credit unions have gained grounds on the commercial banking sector. And as a result, I believe that the customers, the banking public, have been the ultimate beneficiaries. It would be remiss of me if I, as an economist, and not speaking on behalf of the bank now, do not make the point that the uneven playing field, the unregulated way in which the credit unions are engaging in banking business is not a good sign. And while we welcome competition, I believe that the evolution of the financial space and credit unions in particular calls for a relook of the regulatory environment to ensure that that evolution and that growth continues in an environment of safety and soundness. That'll be my footnote to that question.
And Mr. Duncan, it seems like Kalistra is on the same wavelength because her next question was saying that credit unions have operated under different regulations from banks, but have been evolving in a manner that appears to be the same as commercial banking services. Is there any lobby efforts to level the playing field or have the necessary legislative changes being made?
Yeah, well, Kalistra, you are dead on the money. I have made a comment elsewhere in the public, and I don't think it is unfair to do that, because I think the governor of the central bank made it clear that they intend to improve the regulation of the financial space. So they have a project now, and he say in 5 years it will be completed. But along the way, the central bank will be working with what we call the regulatory authorities in each island, like the GAFINs, across the different spaces to ensure that they are up to speed and that the legislation in place governing the various financial actors is enhanced and their capacity to regulate them is in fact enhanced. So that is afoot, Kalistra. And I think the point is that the general public should be comforted in knowing that while entrepreneurship and innovation always run ahead of regulation, there comes a time when regulation catches up with it. And the hope is that when it does, that it is not too late. But for now, I think the intent of the regulators are very clear, and to be fair to them, they are working at it.
Okay, thank you. Kalistra, we were having some technical difficulties coming through via Facebook with the audio. So the question that Kalistra had asked about any measures being initiated by the bank regarding foreclosures, she's asking if you can please readdress that for her benefit, because she didn't hear the answer.
Well, my apologies, Kalistra. I made the point that the issue of foreclosure is not front and center in the banking sector right now. Foreclosure arises when customers are unable to service their debt as arranged for a prolonged period, let's say 90 or more days, and efforts to have that resolved fail. Then the banks obviously have to recover depositors' funds, and the way they do that is by, as we say, foreclosing and selling the collateral that secured depositors' funds in the first place. Because persons have opted, right, where it was offered a moratorium for 6 months, right, and a further 12 to September 2021, suggests that customers would not be in any particular difficulty as far as that is concerned. So none has been, there has been no acceleration or new wave of foreclosures, and there will not likely be any for the remainder of the year and up to September 2021. I think the difficulties would arise from October into about March 2022.
Okay, thank you for accommodating. All right, Chairman Brathwaite, you mentioned strong growth in deposits and high liquidity. Can customers expect better interest rates to be paid by the bank in the near future?
Well, that is more of an economics question than a commercial question, because interest rates really in a free market are affected by supply and demand mainly. And then there's some intervention by regulators who are trying to control or influence the money supply in an economy. You see it with the Federal Reserve Bank of England, ECCB. In the past, ECCB has tried to maintain a 3% savings deposit rate, which was admirable. But that, under the market pressures that the world experiences today, we see a drop in the cost of money, and we have to let market forces have their way. There's a certain amount of intervention, but we do not affect market prices very much. We are competitive, and banks will compete with each other in the retail space, a few percentage points here and there, but significant changes in the interest rate are not likely affected by a single bank. It is more a market effect. And it is good for us that interest rates are dropping, because it means that entry level to start a business, which is actually a great employer and a creation of jobs, is a little easier when market rates are lower. But it means that the depositors have to find other ways to earn from their savings. And that is why we are focusing now more on developing our brokerage unit, so customers who feel disappointed that the savings rates are going down have another way to reasonably safely invest their money.
Okay, you mentioned the brokerage service. So how will you describe the current investor sentiments about the bank? Mrs. Joseph, maybe you take that one.
I think we probably addressed that a little earlier with a question from Ms. Straker when she spoke of the shares being traded at $8.88 on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange. Again, investor sentiments remain stable as the share price have remained steady at that price. And again, we continue to see growth in the bank's balance sheet from the balance sheet side, and we continue to see profitability, which should encourage investor sentiments going forward.
Okay, thank you. The Grenadian public seems to be fully supportive of Co-op Bank. Why do you think this is like that, Chair? And how do you intend to maintain the loyalty?
Well, the initial support when the bank was first created was to give more Grenadians access to credit and to financial services. And that is the main strategic objective. In today's world, it's not possible even to make fairly reasonable progress without obtaining some kind of credit somewhere, whether it's to buy a home or to start a business, educate your kids, whatever. So a major objective of the bank is to provide this service, and this, to a large extent, is what creates the loyalty, because a local bank is here for the long term. You know that the foreign banks come and go. So Grenadians generally feel a lot safer with the local indigenous bank, as demonstrated by our very high customer satisfaction and customer loyalty surveys. However, in terms of maintaining that loyalty, we are constantly looking at ways to improve the service, speed up service times, introduce new products, and we have some new ideas that will be announced perhaps next year when these products hit the market. But we feel very comfortable in this space, and Grenadians feel very comfortable with us. So there's a great amount of loyalty, which is based on patriotism, national pride, and we expect that to continue as we strive to constantly fine-tune our customer service and delivery of products.
Thank you, Chair. Okay, so Mr. Duncan, With the economic uncertainties that surround the pandemic, what sort of additional financial support does Co-op Bank intend to provide to its customers?
Okay, thanks for that question, Sam. Let us put it in context. My view is that the period October 1 to March 31st, October 1, 2021 to March 31st, 2022 will be 6 of the most trying months in the banking sector throughout the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, Grenada included. Why do I say that? The moratorium ends on September 30th, 2021. At that point, you would have interests that have been accumulated over the last 18 months to contend with. We're not too sure if the economy will be strong enough that tourism arrivals would be back to pre-COVID levels, that the on-island face-to-face teaching at the SGU is such that the 5,000 odd students are back on island. We don't know. Therefore, the bank currently, we are contemplating the techniques, the strategies, the analyses that we will do to work with our customers one by one to make sure that we understand whatever cash flows they have and how we can restructure and organize the loans such that they can service them in the circumstances. So I think the main point is, if ever we have worked closely with our customers before, we will be working with them even more closely during that period to ensure that people begin to find their legs again and to be comfortable in servicing their financial obligations. That will be the main message, and each one will be treated separately and according to the merits that their particular risk assessment present.
Very good strategy. Since the bank has been doing so well, how would we be giving back to the community?
Well, I think we mentioned a short while ago the Pump It Up Family Fun Walk. We will continue to drive that because we, like our alliance partners, have paid into the fund this year, hence the reason it has been boosted to $325,000. The bank has committed itself in this pandemic situation to protect or to mitigate against the risk of the negative impact arising from the pandemic on education. We gave traditionally under our education investment plan 1 scholarship primary per parish, 1 scholarship secondary per parish. This year, it has increased 4-fold. So it's 4 scholarships per parish primary, 4 per parish secondary. So we're talking about 56 scholarships in all, plus 3 for TAMCC and 2 at the university level. So our total scholarship spend is around $300,000, right? And that we are going to sustain into the future. In fact, the let me say that the main focus of the strategy is to encourage parents, godparents, to buy units in the education investment plan of $25 each. And you consistently and regularly put that 50, 75, 100, $200, right, based on the number of units that you have purchased into an education investment plan for your godchild or your child. What that does is to qualify you for a scholarship draw every year. And not only have we increased the number of scholarships, we have added laptops, right? Because that's one of the main modalities in this environment for people to engage in education process. So That spend is going to continue, and we are very proud of it. Of course, we have not reduced on our other general areas of commitment. It's just that they have not yet, or they cannot be materialized just yet. For example, the National Primary School Games, our commitment still remains in that area.
Okay. Thank you to our panel for all your accommodations of the questions, very well articulated. I think that's all the questions that I'm seeing here from the media. And I think we can safely bring this media briefing to a close.
Well, Sam, I'm sorry for the poor manners, but one of the things that I should have mentioned about the support from the bank, we have just been approved by the Eastern Caribbean Partial Credit Guarantee Corporation to offer to micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises partial guarantees for credit. So if you have a small, micro, medium-sized enterprise and your credit assessment is otherwise good, but you are lacking in collateral, that guarantee program is designed for you, where the program will guarantee up to 75% of the loan, and that allows you now to come in to business and so forth. And I think that in the coming months that will be extremely crucial for our customers who want to move forward, but for want of collateral, brilliant idea, brilliant track record, cannot grow. So that will be a key feature of what is going to be afoot in 2021.
Okay, so I guess that would explain what's coming, what customers can look forward to in 2021. Lots of good plans. Thank you, Mr. Duncan, for that. And on behalf of the board, the management and staff of Co-op Bank, I just want to again thank everyone for taking the time to attend this briefing virtually and to share this proud moment with us. So we just want to wish you a blessed and enjoyable day and the rest of the week and the coming weekend. God bless.
We set out to build something, not for us, but for you. In 1932, we set out on a mission to establish an institution that catered to the financial needs of every Grenadian. We envisioned a space where our people felt secure and welcome to do business with familiar faces. This was more than a commercial enterprise. Because we considered you to be family, we saw ourselves as building more than just a bank. We likened this establishment to a house. Since we opened our doors in 1933, you've remained with us ever since, growing with us and saving with us, but most importantly, trusting us to safeguard your interests. Through unrest and turmoil, you put your faith in us to be the shelter against adversity. Your trust is the foundation upon which we continue to build to provide stability and support for your dreams and aspirations. Your trust helped our family to grow, and as we grew, your needs grew in tandem. So we developed, expanding our accommodations to make you comfortable, transforming our humble abode to a modern center of business and commerce, while preserving our warm, friendly, family atmosphere. As we furnished our house with efficient services, you decorated our offices, walkways, and counters with smiles, love, and satisfaction, giving us the impetus to improve and do more. It took vision to build this establishment, and our vision has always revolved around the well-being of our people. It is vision that continues to guide our development, a vision of growth, a vision of expansion, a vision of the future, A vision that recognizes that the world is a global village and that technology has become an integral part of our lives. A vision that embraces the efficiencies of technology and its importance in diversifying our corporate and retail portfolios. A vision that represents your vision, your interests, and your needs. You see, we built a house, but it didn't take us long to realize that people, our people, make it home. Welcome home.